Hi, I'm Connor McCarson, one of the co-dramaturgs for the model play. And I'm here with Mary Kate to do kind of a talkback interview with Madie Doppelt, the playwright. Mary Kate, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Mary Kate O'Gara. I'm a BFA 4 dramaturgy criticism major. I'm excited to be here.
And Madie?
Hi, I'm Madie. I'm the playwright. Thanks for the interview, friends.
Awesome. So we've been working on this show for a long time together, like this entire school year. And I just not everyone has seen kind of the journey. And I'm just interested where you kind of began. Like, how did you meet these girls in your head? And how did that moment get us to where we are, kind of the highlights, you know? Tell us about how you started.
How I started forever ago.
Yeah, how you started forever ago.
Well, I work with teenagers, and I think I act like a teenager sometimes in spirit, and I think I don't know, I just really wanted to write about models because I'm really interested in the beauty and fashion industry, and how femininity is infantilized essentially. Infantilized sounds like perhaps a more inflammatory word that I'm thinking of, but I think there's something to taking such young women and making them beauty standards and the pressures that puts on older women and women that don't fit into the beauty standards. And I had just been kind of thinking about how that must also affect the women and girls that are the beauty standard. So that's kind of how I got there.
No, I mean, totally. And I'm super connected to that. And we've been clearly in the middle of this pandemic. And I mean, how did it feel at the beginning to hear that this play that you were going to do on a main stage was turning into something else? And kind of how did you land, I guess, on the podcast idea?
Well, I mean, it felt pretty sad. I think nobody really knew it was going to happen when we realized that all the plays had gotten canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just, I love working on the model play. I think it's so fun. And I know the team is so fun to work with. So I was just really bummed about all of that. But I think the cool thing about the podcast, the reason why we did a podcast is because each scene is already kind of isolated and it's in a little chunk of this is the fashion week for that month. It's in a completely different country as all the other ones. And so it felt really exciting to be able to give the audience the opportunity to travel from place to place with the girls and kind of give them the experience of traveling through clicking through a website. And that's kind of how we got to the episodes instead of a radio play.
Yeah, seeing the script change from what was intended to be a stage play into a podcast, do you feel like you learned anything new about the world?
Yeah, I learned a lot about the world actually, because it's a podcast and we don't get to see people moving around visually. I think my play originally, the script relied a lot on visual pictures and imagery. And once that was kind of erased, it was really exciting to get to dig into how narrative styles can drive that same imagery. I know when I was talking to Carlos, my advisor, he was saying that often radio can be the most visual platform because the audience gets to create their the world entirely for themselves, and being able to tap into that is such an important thing. And so just getting to learn how each girl gets a chance to narrate in the podcast a few times, and getting to understand how each girl views the world and how each girl speaks and describes the same things. That was really exciting for me to learn about the model play world.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm interested, did any character kind of reveal themselves the most during that process of digging into their narration? Because reading the play before having any narration, it was interesting. We just saw the outside, we just saw their conversations, and who did you learn the most about when thinking about what they were thinking on the inside?
I learned the most about Elena because I think at the very beginning of the process, her voice was a little less clear to me the whole time. All of the other characters, they love to speak and they love to reveal. Even Jules, who's like resident quiet one, kind of like begs to be like asked questions in a way that I think Elena just loves to observe. And so it was really tough in the stage script to kind of tap into what makes Elena Elena without manufacturing a reveal she would never give us. And so the like getting to dig into how she narrates and thinks of the world was so important for like my relationship with her, and getting to go through this new journey of like, I don't know, learning about Elena and getting to hear her.
Yeah. I mean, going back to this pandemic idea, this play is so deeply rooted in space, in the idea that these girls are so packed together in this one room the entire play. And I mean, what was it like to work on a story that exists so intimately and so close together, living so, I guess, separately from everybody else, being in isolation during all of this?
I mean, it was sad. I think it was weird because, like, just as an artist, I guess, my, like, the way that I sustain being able to do big rewrites or being able to, like, pour my, like, all my brain space into, like, writing is to, like, be able to, like, go out and, like, experience something completely different so that I'm not, like, kind of living in, like, the model apartment all the time for a process. I know last year when I was writing it, I spent so much, like anytime I wasn't writing, I was spending like being wholesome with my friends, because those girls, their challenges are so palpable and so like relatable that I was like made sure I didn't want to like connect with that. And that was a little bit tougher to find, like that separation, just doing the rewrites. But it was also sweet because the edits that I was making for the script, it was just finding personal voice and like finding the voice of each character when they are by themselves and when they are like revealing secrets to nobody or to like whoever they've decided that their audience is, which felt really akin to like shouting into the void or like, I don't know, like taking to Twitter or whatever else like our communities are doing in isolation. I don't know. I'm lucky to have my model friends. I think they're really sweet, and it's been a good isolation process, I guess.
No, that's really really good to hear. Just a more simple question, actually, off the left side of my brain. Who are your fashion icons right now?
Right now? Oh my God. Okay, well, so I've been following, I just started following Chriselle Lim. She's a fashion designer. She's fantastic. On like, she makes TikToks, which is awesome, and she's on Instagram all over the place, and she does these like vlogs as like your rich Asian mom, and I have been like peeled to the screen. So she is really the first that comes to mind.
No, that's really awesome. I mean, I think it gives us, it's hard to think about fashion when like we're all at home, at least for me, and I just want to put on my pajamas every day. But like, I'm glad to know that there's people out there in the world still, you know, glamming up and just in their home to sit on their couch and like be on their little like Zoom conference meetings. And I think it does help to dress up and feel like a real person. And I think that's a lot of what fashion is, you know, turning into somebody that you're not, or like that you want to be, the best version of yourself, right?
Yeah, I think like I'm using fashion, like the way I've been thinking about it recently is like I've really been getting to explore using fashion to emphasize like myself, in ways that like there are no beauty. I'm at home with my family right now, and I feel like there are kind of no beauty standards in my bedroom. It's just kind of me vibing, and so getting a chance to like just try out whatever I want in my room. It feels very akin to being 16 and like going through all of my things and being like, what is going to make me present in a way that makes me feel comfortable, and feel cool. But I don't have to have the cool because I am not seeing anybody.
No, I mean, and that's the best part of it all.
Yeah, so like thinking about beauty standards and the beauty myth, do you feel like since like the 1980s when this takes place, do you feel like beauty standards have changed and that societally we have progressed or regressed?
Um, this is like, I mean, I don't know because I truthfully am not I in on the fashion enough. But I do know that it's just like the way to view fashion is entirely different. Because in the 80s it was so curated by like magazines and editorials um, in a way that like they just have no control over it now because of social media and stuff and like social influencing as like an individual instead of as a brand is so big now that like I think our entire like vocabulary for understanding like trends has just completely shifted. I like it. I think it's fun because like I mean the beauty standards that are like pushed some oftentimes by like the main like fashion houses or like fashion editorials or even like things like 17 like I never really felt like I ascribed to and I know you guys and I know that that's like true for you and so just being able to like find like more niche like fashion trends that's really fun.
You talked about social media, and I was actually going to bring that up. Like, these girls these girls exist in that curated time, and you as an individual live in a time when Instagram is king in the sense of the fashion world. And I'm excited to see people interact with this narrative through social media. I mean, a website and then your Instagram, I think, is really good. But the girls themselves have no conception of what that world would even be like. Like, how do you feel about that change in the fashion world, about Instagram, I guess, taking over? And how do you think these girls, I guess, would live differently in this new social media world?
Well, I mean, I think I've been thinking about there are a few of the girls that I think are pretty palpably struggle with the beauty constraints and like the expectations. Like I'm thinking of Iris and Elena. I hope if you're watching this before you listen to the podcast, please go back. But I'm thinking about them and their like struggle to try to be edgy or to try to like find their like individual style. Like I think those two are the ones that would be like punk or like emo or like something like that if they weren't given a box to be in. And so those two I'm really thinking would thrive in this new like fashion era of like individually driven I don't know, like beauty interests and like trends. But I mean, and maybe this is because Georgia Berg at this point has like just fully taken over my world in terms of like the model play and Instagram because she runs that Instagram like a champ. But I connect her with Zoe because she plays Zoe, but I just feel like Zoe would also like storm through the Instagram world. Yeah.
Influencer, am I right? Yeah. Clearly there's like this ever-present sense of like danger, I guess, surrounding these young women, not only outside of the apartment, but from each other kind of inside the apartment. Do you think that the industry, or even just in the life of adolescent women, like has that danger faded in any sense? Has it become a safer industry for women, for young women? And even past the industry, do you think it's become a safer environment to be a young woman in this world?
I don't know about that being a young woman in this world thing. I think I live in a niche and a bubble. And so I think I certainly feel safer as Madie living in Chicago with all of my privileges and all of my whatever. I feel like I have more agency and I feel safer, and I did at 16 than I'd imagine. Then I know that like my characters did, traveling the world. But I don't think that I know about everybody else. I don't know. I honestly, I don't think it offers any more or less dangers like the fashion industry now that it's changed or switched platforms. I really think it's just like different, because people do have access to so much more, which is like, and it isn't curated, which is good because then the beauty standards are becoming less like Eurocentric and all that jazz, and less commercialized, but it's also like lends its way to a whole new gate of, I don't know, a band of merry misfits. So I think it's just different.
Yeah. I mean, what are you most excited about? I guess, what are you most excited to hear about, to see once it's out of your hands? You know, like once it's on the website and into the world, are you ready for that, you think? Like, what are you excited for?
I am never ready for that. I woke up this morning sweating and I was like, oh my God, people are going to hear this play. What's going to happen? And it happened last year too. Cause I mean, these girls are I love them. Like I have been living with them for so long. I love them. I know how strong and important they are and how smart they are. And I am always worried that when we present like every next level of exposure that they get to the world, just like how they are in their own model world, when they enter our world, I'm worried that people are going to judge them or assume things about them, and they can't fend for themselves because they are what we've created them to be. But I do know that they speak for themselves, I think, at least. And I am excited I'm so excited to get to share like their new inner dialogues with everybody, in the podcast, which is something we just didn't have in the readings last year. I'm really excited for everybody to get to see like their own little secrets and their vulnerable memories.
Yeah, so one thing that is a major bummer about the show going onto podcasts is that we don't get to see the design anymore. I know we all worked pretty hard for a few months. So I don't know, Madie, if you wanted to talk about how the design impacted your understanding of the play.
Yeah, well, I was going to jump in because, I mean, it's a huge bummer because the designers are literally amazing. But the whole reason why we did a website, and not just a podcast that we would put on like Spotify or something, is because the materiality of the model play is so central to like the narrative. And so we will be able to see the renderings of much of the designs on the website, all of the costumes that were rendered and the dress sets that Isabel and Devin did like an amazing job with. I know they have Barbies that they bought and they built like fashion show outfits for the Barbies, like really, like they actually made tiny outfits and they dyed their hair and they dressed and did the makeup for the Barbies. So we are going to get to see just like a little bit of what we would have been able to stage on this website, which is like really one of my favorite parts about going digital. So I think that I am so grateful to have had a team that was so willing to adapt and like hang out with me in this world. And I feel really excited to share all those designs. I think everybody is gonna die for them.
I mean, honestly, shout out to Devin and Bella and everyone who worked so hard, Kyle, on the website itself and everything past it. Like, it looks really good, and I'm really proud of everyone, and including you, including all the designers. It's gonna turn out great.
Yes, I've been giving extra shout out to William Kirpan, our sound designer, and every single sound designer that was on a new play that turned into a podcast or a radio play or anything. Because that like, it's really hard to be a sound designer, normally. But now I just like the amount of work and brainstorming and the amount of work that me and William have gotten to do like directly together that we wouldn't have done had we been doing like a stage play. It's remarkable. He's a genius. I just big shout out to him.
I mean, yeah, he took on a huge load of work when we figured out that this was going to be the solution, and I'm sure he turned it out. William's great, shout out. I think we don't have any other questions, so I'm just going to give you the opportunity to plug yourself and plug where can we access this play? Where can we, what's the Instagram? Tell us everything.
Okay, well, you should for sure follow the model play on Instagram. We have so many fun little things happening over there. We've got a BuzzFeed quiz. So once you're done listening or midway through listening, you can take our BuzzFeed quiz and find out which model you are. And if you tag us, we will post it. So please do. I am so curious to know who you align with on our hilarious little alignment of models.
Did you take the quiz yet?
I did take the quiz.
Who are you?
I'm Iris.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like I resonate.
I get that.
But yes, I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm so excited for everybody to hear this play.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for writing the play. I hope your quarantine stays, invigorating and somewhat resourceful for you. And I hope you have a good rest of the week.
Yeah, you too. It's good to see your faces.